Jai Shri Krishna. Welcome to this second episode of Bhagavad Gita discussions. I want at the outset to thank all our viewers who have, after seeing the program, sent us their comments, their suggestions, and also their words of encouragement in this exercise that we are undertaking. For those who may be joining us for the first time, we are doing a 13-part series of Bhagavad Gita discussions in which we are focusing firstly on chapters 1 to 3 in this series before proceeding. This is a production of the International Gita Forum Caribbean. I am Pandit Maniedeo Persad, and on set with me is a senior Pandit, one of the senior most Pandits in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of practice, who is also the consultant for the International Gita Forum Caribbean. I refer to Pandit Vickramaditya Maharaj of San Fernando, the head of the Upkar Foundation. Panditji, welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri.
Now, in our last program, we did an introduction to Bhagavad Gita, and then we began looking at the verses from verse 1 to verse 25. Panditji, before we actually go forward, I want to acknowledge the comments that were made, but there was one question that came in that I felt we should address before proceeding. And that person asked, why was there the need really for Arjuna to ask Sri Krishna to place the chariot between both armies? What really was the purpose?
Very interesting question. And the answer is twofold. Lord Krishna was also looking for the opportunity for him to discuss the Gita, or to bring the Gita forward so that the world would know of the Gita. So he had to create the environment for the Gita to come
unfold.
out, to unfold itself. Arjuna, in the meantime, was very confident. Hence he said, place my chariot between both armies. That wasn't the environment for the Gita, but is what he saw. Made the Gita relevant.
I think, what he saw, or his reaction to what he saw.
Well, what he saw.
Right? If we just quickly recap these verses. Now, O Lord, seeing your sons arrayed against him, and when missiles were ready to be hurled, war was about to start. Arjuna, son of Pandu, took up his bow and then addressed the words to Sri Krishna. O Krishna, place my chariot between the two armies, and keep it there till I have carefully observed these warriors drawn up for battle, and have seen with whom I have to engage in this fight. Now, we're looking at the two armies were more than 1 million people on both sides entering into a fight. He says further, I shall scan the well-wishers in this war of the evil-minded Duryodhan, who have assembled on this side and are ready for the fight. And this is the point, I think, where we concluded last week, where Arjuna now is placed between both chariots, between both armies, as the stated intention to see who is there to fight. And let's move forward, Panditji, from this point as we explore chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita.
Right. We begin with verse 24, with Sanjaya saying, Eva mukta hrishikesho gudakeshena bharata senayorabayor madhye stapayitva ratotamam bhishmadrona pramukataha sarvesham cha mahikshitam uvacha partha pashyetana samvetana kuruniti. Now, being requested by Arjun. Arjun was given a name in this verse, Gudakesh. Gudakesh is a person who has total control over sleep. He can sleep only when he wants to sleep. So Lord Krishna placed the chariot between both armies, and then he said to Arjun, most beautiful line, Uvacha parta pashyatana samvetana kuruniti. He said, look Arjun, look who you see in front of you. Behold the Kauravas together. Now Arjun was also a Kaurava. Look, it's your own family in front of you now. Now why would that verse be so, why that line would be so important? That he wanted Arjun to see his own kith, his own kin, his own family, his own relatives, everybody
arrayed against him.
And that would create a doubt or a fear in his mind. And that is the opportunity Lord Krishna was waiting on. So once Arjun had that doubt in his mind, Lord Krishna would use that opportunity to preach the Gita for the benefit of humanity. Okay?
Now Krishna Bhagwan places the chariot directly in front of Bhishma, who is the eldest member of his family.
His grandfather.
Places it in front of Dronacharya,
His guru.
his guru. So here now Arjun maybe is now, he says he wants to see who is arrayed against him. But arrayed against him are not just people he grew up with, but people he revered.
Yeah. The very next verse, verse 26, goes into detail of who are the people he saw. Tatra pashyat stitan partha pitrinat pitamahan acharya matulan bhatrin pautran sakins tata Shvashurana suhridaschaiva senayorabayorapi. Arjun stood up in that chariot and he saw paternal uncles, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, cousins, sons, grandsons, comrades, in-laws, and benefactors. That is what he saw.
On both sides.
On both sides.
Yeah.
And when he saw that, verse 27 says, Tana samikshaisa kaunteya saravan bandhunavastithan kripaya paraya vishto vishidannaddam abravit. When he started to look around, something came over him. And he became very emotional. He became very sad. If you want to add words to that, he became depressed.
A deep sense of compassion is another way it was described.
Well, Arjun...
And this from his mind is the compassion, because he is thinking, given his power and might, in a battle there are no certainties other than death for somebody. And so I could, even at this level, empathize with what is happening to Arjun.
Okay.
These are people that he has grown up with, these are people he has revered, and even after all that has transpired, all the terrible atrocities done to them, it speaks something of Arjun's character too, that at this moment he feels a deep sense of compassion and uttering these words filled with sadness.
Well, he was sad. He was going through different emotions. And if you are going through these negative emotions, which is what he was going through, compassion doesn't come in. Compassion doesn't come in if you have negative thoughts in your mind. If you have depressing thoughts in your mind, compassion is not one of the things. Maybe he was feeling sorry for them, but that is not compassion.
It's a matter of perspective.
Okay?
Yeah.
So Arjun is now faced with this great conflict in his mind. And he says to Lord Krishna, verse 28, Drishtamam swajanam Krishna yuyutasam samupastitam sidanti mamagatrani mukkamacha padishushyate. Oh Lord, when I look at my relatives, when I look at my family, my limbs have become weak. And my mouth has become very dry. Now, here he describes the Lord as Krishna. Krishna means what? The one who saves the devotee from distress is called Krishna. So he's already admitting that he is in distress.
It's manifesting physically.
Right.
It bodily functions.
He's appealing for help without saying he wants help.
As yet, yeah.
As yet. Just by using the word Krishna, it means there is a call for help. He goes on to say in verse 29, Vepatushcha sharire me romaharashascha jayati gandivam strasate ghastva tvakchaiva paridyati. He says, my body trembles, O Lord. The hair on my arms is standing on its end. And the most precious weapon, the Gandiva bow, that bow is slipping from my hand. I cannot hold it. It's slipping out. My body is burning up with fire, heat. Oh Lord. Verse 30. Nacha shakno vyavastatum bhramati vachi me mana nimitani chapashyami viparitani yakeshava. I cannot stand. My body is losing strength. And my mind is very confused. Here he describes the Lord as what? Keshava. Totally different name. Keshava means the one who is the creator of the universe, the one who is the sustainer of the universe, and the one who is the destroyer of the universe is called Keshava. Three different aspects of the same Supreme Lord, whom we call Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. But he describes him as Keshava. That this is happening to me. I cannot stand. All I see before me now are evil signs, evil omens. Whether those signs were true or whether those signs were perceived, you have to take it from how he is seeing it.
Yeah.
This is what he is seeing. And verse 31 he says, Nacha shreyo napashyami hatva swajanamahavi nakangshe vijayam Krishna nacha rajam sukhanicha. I do not foresee any good when you slaughter relatives.
Yeah.
Oh Krishna, I do not want victory. I do not want empire. Nor do I want pleasures. Now this is very interesting, because Arjun went on the battlefield to fight a war against the Kauravas because of the deceit that took place. One of the questions we got was, if the Gita is so powerful, how come it didn't change Arjun? Who said it didn't change him? Yes, it did. You see, but the war still took place. Yes, but the motivation is what changed. Arjun was no longer fighting for 5 villages. He was fighting adharma. Totally different thing. The same warriors he was fighting against, but for a different purpose.
The intent.
The intent was different. He goes on in verse 32. Kim no rajena govinda, kim bhogair jivitena va. Of what use is this kingdom? Of what use is this enjoyment? Of what use is this life, having committed such atrocities of wiping out my relatives? Oh Govinda. Now this is the next interesting name. Govinda is a living God, the one who knows everything. So he knows exactly what Arjuna is doing. Verse 33. Yeshamarte kangshitam no rajam bhoga sukhanica ta ime vastita yodhe prana stakvadhananica. For whose sake we seek kingdom, enjoyment, and pleasures? He's now questioning himself.
Yeah.
For whose sake are we doing this? We stand here in battle. Prana tyakva dhananicha. Dhananicha means for our property, wealth, and pranas, our life. We are risking our life. We are risking everything that we have. For what? What is the purpose of all this? Verse 34. Acharyaha pitaraha putraha tathaiva cha pitamaha matulaha shuraha pautraha shalaha samvanninastataha. Teachers, parents, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives. He has now reached the stage where he's even doubting his purpose.
Yeah.
And when you reach that stage in life, when you start to doubt, you know, when we go later on in the Gita, there is a verse that says, if a person cannot be happy with himself in this world, or seek contentment in this world, how is he going to be happy with himself? How he's going to be happy here, and how he's going to be happy hereafter? Here is a man, I'm using this word loosely, man, total disciplined human being, who is ready to fight this war. And in a split second, what really came over him?
Overcome by emotion, yeah.
That he became so withdrawn. Something had to cause it. Verse 35 says, Etan hantumichhami grato api madhusudan api trailokya rajasya heto kim numahi krite. Even if I am killed in this war, I do not know whether I should die in this war, or should I fight this war to win this war. That's a frightening statement. You know, sometimes, Pandit, you and I were young at one time playing cricket, and you go on the cricket field and the two captain toss, and you see fellas 6'9", 6'10" tall, and say, oh God, we're dead today. Mm-hmm. You already lose before you toss. This time when the fellas are off-spin bowler.
Yeah.
He's not a fast bowler, but we judge him by his height. So Arjun is in that same predicament, that I do not know. What are we fighting this for, O Madhusudan? Is it for dominion? To rule? How is this going to benefit us? And what is interesting in this verse, maybe subconsciously, he calls Krishna Madhusudan, which is strange, the slayer of Madhu. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to appeal to Krishna that, listen, you already are a killer by killing Madhu. Mm-hmm. So you of all people could understand this predicament I am in. He's not asking for help yet. He's just throwing out these thoughts, throwing out these ideas at the Lord. And very interesting, the Lord is not responding to him. He just listening.
He's letting him go through the process.
He's just letting him go through the process all by himself. And that is the lesson we need to learn. There are times in life when we will face difficulties, all type of difficulties. Especially as parents, when you have children, if something wrong with your children, the children will not understand what the parent will go through. And sometimes I have heard, my children tell me that sometimes. You don't know what it is like to be a child? I say, really? You think I'm born big?
Yeah.
You know, because they're in a different era. So they think that...
And sometimes they have to work it through themselves.
They have to work it through themselves, and as a parent, we just have to do exactly what Lord Krishna is doing. Sit there and just listen. And that could be the most benefit. Verse 36. Nihatya dhartarashtranan ka priti swajanardan papame vashraye dasman hatvetana tatayinaha. What happiness are we going to get at the end of this war? Let us predict the future, that we win this war. What happiness are we going to get that we have nobody to share it with?
Yeah.
All the people we are supposed to share this victory with, we have killed them. So there is nobody to share this. And again, he calls Krishna another name, Janardhan. Janardhan simply means when you want prosperity, or you want emancipation, or liberation, that is the form of Lord Krishna you pray to, Janardhan, the one who bestows liberation and prosperity. So he's literally telling Lord Krishna now, liberate me from this, without actually asking, just by the name. And there is an interesting word, atatayina. Atatayina is people who perform certain crimes. They didn't list the crimes what they were in the Gita. But destroying those people who commit those crimes, that is not a sin. But Arjun is using it so that he could prevent himself from having to take part in this war. And he's using a very interesting thing that the Vedas have said. When you go through the Vedas, there is a verse, Ma hingsyat sarva bhutani. Hinduism believes in non-violence. So he's using the right phrase, but for the wrong purpose.
Out of context.
Out of context, totally out of context. And my research have shown that in the Vashismriti, there are 6 people you could destroy. It lists 6 people that you could destroy. And the 6 people, you have a right to protect yourself against these 6 people. 1, who sets fire to a home. 2, one who poisons food. 3, one who murders innocent
Somebody
people.
else.
4, one who steals wealth. 5, one who kidnaps people. And 6, one who usurps the kingdom. You overthrowing, destroying those people is not a sin. And Manusmriti itself says, it is not a sin if one is an aggressor and you destroy him in self-defense.
Let's pause here, because if you look at our society, and I think this is where, while we don't want to comment negatively on our legal system, but certainly throughout our society, kidnappings are taking place with impunity, murders, aggression, home invasions, and it's almost as though our legal framework cannot seem to handle it. And our scriptures say clearly that such people should be destroyed.
Okay. Now, what is the problem then? Now, if I commit an offense, a crime, and let's be frank, I kill somebody, I am charged for the murder. The reason they charge me is because they have evidence against me.
Oh, they should, yeah.
Well, and they charge me because of the evidence they have. Who convicts me? Not a judge. A judge don't convict you. You are convicted by your peers, which we call jurors. So the jurors are the one who decide, after listening to all the evidence and whatever it is, that yes, this man not only committed this murder, but he premeditated this murder and murdered an innocent person.
But I think it's important, the point being raised very clearly from your research here is that Hinduism upholds here the issue of death penalty for people like these.
Hold on, we are reaching here.
We would need to take a break and then continue. My director is saying we need a break and we then continue discussion. You're viewing Bhagavad Gita discussions. We will return. Jai Shri Krishna, welcome back. We are in the second half of our second program now on Bhagavad Gita discussions. Panditji, just before the break, you highlighted the fact that Hindu theology, Hindu philosophy, Hindu scripture acknowledges that the death penalty is applicable for certain nature of crimes. And I think this is important. When you look at our society today, part of the challenge that we face is total lawlessness and an apparent incapacity of the authorities, whoever they may be, to keep our citizens protected. Let's proceed, Panditji.
Right.
Yeah.
So he is using this ahimsa paramadharma, non-violence,
as an excuse.
As an excuse. But the scriptures itself has declared not everybody should be punished severely. There are certain crimes that are called heinous crimes, and those are people to be exterminated.
This ahimsa paramo dharma, or non-aggression, or non-violence, many times Hindus are viewed as a people that are very passive, because I think it's been misapplied in many ways, where someone attacks you and I'm non-violent, so you allow people to trample over you. And I think that calls for a revisit as we go forward. We are, I wouldn't say we are non-aggression. The correct term should really be not non-violence, but non-aggression, where we won't be the aggressor. And as you pointed out, there are areas that we would be right in defending ourselves.
The Constitution gives us that right too. You have a right to protect limb and you have a right to protect property, right? But barring that, we have to stick to what the scriptures say. If the scriptures support, I mean, in every country in the world, there is a death penalty Although you have people who now say, no, that is not the right way to go on this, and people making excuses. What about the child who has lost his life? That child has no rights. So the scriptures, Bashish was very clear on that. That if you burn somebody's house with somebody and somebody dies in that house, execute him. If you poison food, what is the intention in poisoning food? Not to kill people? Then no harm in removing them from the earth. Those who murder people, every day we are seeing it. We just came out of 12 months, 600 and something murders.
And you know, an interesting question be how many people who are charged walking around with hundreds of cases?
Yeah, and the point is, if I live in a country where I will not be executed for a crime, what prevents me from continuously performing crime? Because nothing is going to happen.
Yeah.
Those who steal, those who kidnap, those who try to overthrow government, executing those people. Manu is very, very clear on that. It is not a sin if you kill any one of these aggressors. It didn't say go and murder people. It says no, do it in self-defense.
In defense of your society.
Yes. Now we go to verse.
So Arjun, as we come back on, Arjun is using this idea of non-aggression to say we shouldn't fight in the middle of the battlefield.
Yeah. Wrong place, wrong time. And that leads us to Desha Kala Me Same Bichara. Yes, we adapt to suit time, circumstances and conditions, but the condition was already set.
You are soldier in the middle of the battlefield with an AK-47.
The conditions were already set.
You want to say non-violence?
That's right, the conditions were already set.
Yeah.
So you cannot now go on the battlefield and bawl Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. That is not the place of Bhaja Govindam.
Yeah.
So verse 37 now. Tasmanarha vayamahantum dharataratraan swavandavan swajanam hi katamahatva sukkhina syama madhava. O Madhava, we should not kill the sons of Dhritarashtra. Why? Now he's questioning that. We should not kill them. How could we kill them and expect to be happy? So Lord Krishna sat in that chariot listening to him.
Continues listening, yeah.
Verse 38. Yadyapyete na pashyanti lobopahata chetasaha kulakshaya kritamadosham mitra drohe chapatakam. He admits now that yes, Duryodhana is the enemy. And they see nothing wrong in doing what they are doing. And I revert back now to exactly what Bashish has said. Bashish has said, these people are aggressors. Nothing is wrong to defend yourself. Here is the man in whose ability thousands of people are depending on to defend them. And yet now he wants to turn his back and walk away from those who put their trust in him, those who put their faith in him. If Lord Krishna had doubt in his mind about Arjun, he would have never taken up the responsibility of being the charioteer. But he took that for a reason, because he knew that Arjun was going to crumble. And this is exactly how Arjun is crumbling piece by piece. Every verse, Arjun is crumbling more and more. Their mind is clouded by greed. They see no guilt in exterminating a family. They see no crime in hostility to innocent people. Innocent people here means friends. Friends is not an aggressor. So they want to destroy the very things that the scriptures say to stand up and defend against. Verse 39. Kattamanagyeyamasmabi papa dasma nivartitum kulakshaya kritamadosham prashaddedi janardanam. Why can't we reconcile with them? I would have loved to be I mean, God forbid. But I'd love to be Lord Krishna just for half of a second, just to see what his reaction was going to be when he says, Katham nage yamasmabi papa dasmin nivadititum. When Arjun said, why can't we reconcile with these sinners? I would have just loved to be Lord Krishna, just to see what his reaction would have been for a split second. They see no evil in destroying this family. But I am seeing what is going to happen when families are destroyed.
Yeah.
He is now the great scholar on family life. He goes on in verse 40 to say, Kulakshaye pranashyanti kuladharma sanatanaha dharma nashte kulamakritsam adharma bhibavat yutaha. He says, my dharma is built on a pillar of traditions. Every family have traditions. And all these traditions that were used in this family for thousands and thousands of years, these traditions are going to be wiped out.
Yeah.
All these traditions are going to be destroyed.
Now, you know, when you look at it, for example, this verse, this statement, taken in isolation, there is logic in it. Age-old, age-long family traditions disappearing with destruction of a family. Now, he is using this as a reason why he should not perform his duty. But in itself, even as we who are families, traditions disappear when they are not maintained. Traditions disappear when people start following different philosophies, different religions, for example. And so there is merit in itself. I don't know how you view that, in terms of what he's saying in the verse in itself, not in the context. But the fact that traditions disappear when sanskar is not maintained from generation to generation.
And whose fault is that? Somebody has to take the blame for it. I come from a tradition where you go to school with a grass knife. You have to have a grass knife in your book bag. It wasn't for violence. It was when school over and you're coming home, you look for a bundle of grass and you cut it.
Okay, at home, yeah.
Do you allow your son to mow the lawn in your yard? Do you allow your son to mow the lawn in your yard? And the answer to that, I'll give you the same answer you're going to give me. The answer to that is no, because he's studying, he can't mow the lawn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow my son to power wash my yard. No, I have to do that. You understand? So, I'm using that very simply. It's the same thing with the traditions in the family. We give too much leeway to our children, right? Because we are the one to teach the children our traditions. And if we give them too much leeway without exposing them to the traditions, then the traditions mean nothing to them.
Simple things like every morning offering jal, getting up and offering jal. As a child, we grow up doing that. You try to inculcate that in children. Performing Havan weekly, if not every day.
Right.
All these practices as Hindus that we have. I think it's important, as we just touch on family traditions, that each family looking at this program, look at the traditions in your family, particularly your religious traditions, and see how well you are maintaining them. Because if you don't, the reality is, as Pandit is saying, how are our children to learn if we do not expose them to it?
Right.
And you make a good point. I mean, I will not ask my son to mow the lawn because he's studying, right? We don't mind cow again, right? The times have changed, but we have to look at those traditions and those values that we need to keep running onward from generation to generation to keep.
You know, only this morning I asked somebody a question. I said, could you remember when you were small? Say yes. I said, could you remember your mother feeding you? Yes. Did she feed you with a spoon? No. A metal spoon? No. Yeah. A plastic spoon? No. What she used to feed you? She hand. Do you have any idea why she used she hand to feed you? She wanted to put the food in my mouth. I said, that's what you think. Okay. He doesn't understand that the connection
between mother and child. Yeah.
That's right. When she feeds you with her hands, there is a bond between you.
Yeah.
When you take away that bond and replace it with plastic and metal, they become mechanical in life. They don't have that emotional bond with you. Right?
Yeah.
So we are responsible very slowly for doing it ourselves. Like people will call for Pitri Paksha especially. Babuji mantra to throw water. That's what it means for your ancestors here. You say, well, when you pray to your ancestors, say, Lord, thank you. The good people in my family died and they left an idiot like me behind. You want to throw water? You don't throw water, my friend. You offer.
Water,
Teach them the right thing. With the mantra to throw water for Surya. Hope rainfall. You understand? No, don't say that. I want to offer a lota of jal.
Yeah.
And they don't understand why it is done. How do you hold that lota? What is the position of the hand? You know, when you're offering water to Surya, you should watch the sun through the water. You know why you do that? You know why you should look at the sun through the water? Whatever sickness and diseases that the eyes have, that will cure it. Proven fact. Proven.
There's so many traditions. There's so
But you
many
see, we think it's just tradition because we're doing it mechanical. Because we ourselves, our grandparents never taught us why we should do things. Like they say, you shouldn't sweep a house in the dark, evening time. If a bottle break in your house, you won't sweep it up. Question one. And if a person lying on the ground, you should not cross them. Why? They say the person won't grow. The man is 6 foot 8 inches, you won't grow more than that?
Yeah.
And the reason you shouldn't cross somebody has nothing to do with their growing ability. It has to do with Ishwara Sarvabhutanam Hridesh Arjun Tishtati, that God resides in the heart of a person. That if you cross over them, you are actually kicking God, crossing over God.
Yeah.
So if we explain the right thing to
Respect.
them, they will understand it and they will accept it. Other than that, it will be just mumbo jumbo for them.
And many things have become mechanical already because of lack of understanding.
This is the point.
Why what is done is done.
And this is why we have chosen
like wearing chandan,
a tilak.
a tilak, or a woman wearing her sindoor has become. Even in India, many of the younger people even continue wearing of the bindi, and so all these traditions. It's not just a fashion statement, but it's important that we ensure our traditions are maintained.
Yeah, and this is why we are doing this program.
Yeah.
The reason we are doing this program is to give people. I might be using the wrong word here. A simpler understanding, no, a better understanding how to appreciate the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
This is why we call it, well, we say we are having a Gita discussion, but the name we rarely use is Gita Rahasya. That we are, in the discussion, we are trying to unravel some of the mysteries that exist in the Gita.
Yeah, so certainly let's come back now. I mean, from Arjun's point of age-long family traditions disappear. We'll just leave this discussion here with each of you. What are your family traditions? What traditions, religious traditions, also cultural traditions that you must maintain in order to ensure generational continuity and family continuity? Panditji, shall we continue?
Verse 41. Adharma bhi bhavan Krishna pradushyanti kulastriyah strishu dushta suvarshaneya jayate varna sankaraha. When there is no strong figure, I'm using the word strong, not abusive. When there is no authoritative figure in the home, then unrighteousness is going to step in.
Yeah.
Right? One of the traditions when I was growing up, I could tell anybody, if you must reach home before 6. And once you reach home, there's only one place you have to go, bathroom. Wash your foot. Wash your hand, wash your foot, puja room. Light a diya. When you finish, go outside. When we got big, when we grew up, we didn't have to do that again.
Yeah.
You understand? There was no continuity. So if I am not doing it, my children are not going to do it. My grandchildren are not going to do it. So here Arjuna is saying that things will get out of hand. People will become out of control.
Yeah.
And when you have families with people living in the house who are
out of control, yeah.
Then you're going to read about them in the news. They're going to be victims of kidnapping. They are going to be victims of murder. Many times I read in the papers, I didn't even know she wasn't home. Parents believe the child home, you know. Next thing they find the child dead somewhere else. They honestly believe that the child was home. So when there is that breakdown, I'm using it, lack of communication, all type of chaos and madness is going to take place. Verse 42 says, Sankaro narakayeva kulagranam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hesham luptapindo dakakriyaha. And when the traditions in a family are destroyed, when the customs and the traditions are destroyed, then this verse is exactly what happens every Pitri Paksh in Trinidad. When people call you to say, do I have to do this? You know, I don't take out food already for my father. Who tell you giving your father that food? Where you get that from? You know, these loose statements that are made, that is absolutely nothing. He says, even then, people will call and say, do I have to offer a pinda? One, they don't know what is a pinda to start with. And they believe they are offering the pinda to the person who died. The person who died, unfortunately, died not for he. That is for you. You're offering that for yourself in the event that nothing happens when you pass on. When the traditions become totally disrupted, all these incidents are going to happen. And here we could talk about it. Because we have been to homes where children are not even present when their parents die. Strangers doing the rites for them.
I have had situations where, because, I mean, these are reality that we have to face. And we're living in a cosmopolitan society, but even so, we need to be very careful what happens. Sometimes one of the issues that arises, frankly, is conversion. And I have had the experience where a son refused to do the final rites for his father because I'm no longer Hindu. Yeah.
But you want the money leaving the bank though. You still want the property. You still want the deed for the property. You shouldn't want that also. You can't be selective.
No, but this is an issue, and it's just outside the scope of this program. But we need to be aware of it. Many times when these traditions, when religious conversions take place away from Hinduism, this issue arises. And as Hindus, it's something we should flag and deal with it in a serious manner. Because for the life of me, I cannot understand how a son would refuse to perform his duty towards his parent. But that is the reality that occurs in some places. In
some places, yeah. Verse 43. Doshadete kulagranam varana sankara karakai utsyajanti jati dharamaha kuladharamashta shashwataha. Ageless customs, ageless traditions have now gone to nothing. Recently, I was in Rio Claro and I saw a lantern and I bought it and I bring it home. I never can buy two. They say, wait, what that for? I say, you know what this was used for a long time? This was for the train passing, that the fellow would swing the lantern so the train will know to come ahead, full speed ahead. It just we lose everything. So we now getting it back now as souvenirs. I have children with a suja and they watch me like if I land from Mars or some kind of thing. They don't even know it's a suja. The cocoa needle.
I don't know either.
Serious? Come on, man. A suja like the cocoa needle we just so bad with.
Well, I never so bad with a cocoa needle, so I wouldn't know.
But the point is, you come from an agricultural tradition where you are bagging vegetables. How do you tie the bag when you're done? They stitch it. They hand stitch it.
Okay.
Right? So he says all these traditions are gone. And families are wiped off from the map. It doesn't happen overnight. People believe this is going to happen before the year 2023 finish. No, no, no. These things are going to be destroyed over time.
It's an ongoing thing.
Ongoing.
Yeah. like in some countries in Asia, close to India, Bangladesh, etc., you have whole villages that are now described as missing.
Yeah.
Hindu people who suddenly disappear in their census taking. I mean, we all know what is happening.
Yeah.
Right? So there are interesting issues that arise. But Arjun is raising these issues where once people lose their original traditions, the family begins to degenerate. But he's using that argument not to fight.
He's using the argument not to fight, but he will get the answer for it.
Yeah. So in itself, what he's saying here is true, but it is not applicable in the conditions that we're referring to in the Bhagavad Gita.
In the situation he is in.
Yeah.
Verse 44. Otsanan kuladharamanam manushyanam janardan naraki niyatamavaso bhavityayuna shushramaha. We have heard, O Janardan, that the netherworlds, the underworld, is the place for those people who have broken the family traditions, who have destroyed the family traditions. That is where they end up, in the netherworlds. He is saying, he doesn't say that, he knows that for sure.
No.
He has heard that is where they are going to end up.
And that is his basis for not wanting to act.
Right, and I am not going to go to the netherworlds simply because I am not going to wipe out his family.
Yeah. That's the argument.
That's the argument he is putting up. Verse 45, sorry. Aho bat mahata papam karatum avyavasitavayam yadrajaya sukalobhena hantu swajanamudyataha. And what has motivated this? The greed. The greed for wealth. The greed for material things is what caused us to be here today.
Yeah.
And look what this greed is going to cause. This greed is going to cause our family to be wiped out, our kinsmen to be wiped out. So even here, this verse, Hantu Swajana Mudyataha, means I am going to wipe out my family because of greed and material wealth. He knew he was going to win. He knew they couldn't kill him. He knew that long before. But yet he's saying...
Yet he's agitated.
Yes. What is causing this? Verse 46. Yadi mama pratikaram ashastram ashastra panayah dharatarashrarane hantu tanamakshe bhavid. Should I allow the sons of Dhritarashtra? He is making the same mistake that Dhritarashtra make. Dhritarashtra said, tell me, what did my sons do and what did Pandu's sons do in the first verse? And here Arjuna is saying, not my cousins again, them is Dhritarashtra children.
Yeah.
So he's making the same mistake. So you cannot correct a mistake with a mistake. So here he says now, should the sons of Dhritarashtra with their weapons destroy me, I will be unarmed. I wouldn't
unresisting.
I wouldn't even resist it, man. Let it shoot. Would it be better for me? Would that really be better for me? Boss, a little pin chuck you below your foot, a little picker chuck you below your foot. You could lay a doctor hold your nail with a pliers and pull it out without anesthetic. Yeah, you like pain so much. When the arrow really hit him and he get the pain, he was sing a different tune. But the point he is making is, here is...
It might be better to let them kill me, and I don't fight.
Right, but we also have to take into consideration that Arjuna fought with Lord Shiva.
He's not a coward by any means.
No. If you could take on Lord Shiva in battle one-on-one, you had to be real good. Right? And if he could stand up to Hanuman, you had to be good. And yet, look what is driving him. to say something like this. I will put down my bow and allow them
and
to
let him to
shoot
kill me. Yeah.
And Sanjaya says the last verse
Final verse.
of chapter 1. When Sanjaya says, Eva mukt Arjuna sanke ratopasta upavishat visrijya sasharama chapam shokasag vignamanasaha. Arjun was now totally out of control. He was on an emotional roller coaster on that battlefield. He sat down in the chariot and he discarded the bow and arrows. He discarded it. Now, Lord Krishna's intention, when you asked the question earlier, why did he place the chariot, why was the need to place the chariot between both armies? The real answer now comes
From this chapter. At this point,
from this verse.
we would need to break and continue in our next program from this point.
Well, let me just know the reason.
Go ahead,
one line.
finish, yeah.
Lord Krishna wanted to deliver the message of the Gita. And to deliver the message of the Gita for who? Not Arjun. For the benefit of humanity. He had to choose the right time. And to choose the right time, he is the one who created the confusion in the mind of Arjun. He did that deliberately. So Arjun will now question him, and he would
The question is asked,
to reveal
and
the
now
Gita.
in chapter 2, Bhagwan will respond.
Yes.
At this point, we would need to conclude this program. I want to thank our sponsors. Those of you who are viewing, if you have any questions, your numbers are on the screen. You can call 652-1043, or you can WhatsApp 784-9880. And any questions that come, or comments, we will address them in our next episode. At this time, we have now completed chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. I want to thank Panditji, and we will continue in our next program. Until then, Jai Shri Krishna.